get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Travis Hoechlin, and with RizeUp Media. You can check them out at RizeUpMedia.com. It's with a Z, R-I-Z-E, right? And Travis, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of the Top Agency series, which are the good ones? Ian Garlic, I think you know Ian. We talked about video case stories, and he basically helps companies capture amazing client stories so they can market them. And what's better than client stories? He talked also about growing up in an entrepreneurial family, and his dad had a restaurant, Travis, and in that restaurant, they had live dolphins. Okay. I like that episode because it got my creative juices flowing, and that's strange in general. I saw your reaction, but in Ian's in Orlando. So it's like, okay, that's kind of strange. But at the time, this restaurant was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So which is even crazier. So that episode was cool. I had Adi Clevitt on. Adi Clevitt is an agency that is done for you SOPs. Okay. So if you want to capture and document your SOPs from a client onboarding to a staff onboarding to whatever, they come in and they document it for you. And we geeked out on our favorite productivity tools, systems, processes, like all the sexy stuff that's behind the scenes that makes things work, right? That was a really good one as well. And there was a good one with Jason Swank talking about how he built up his agency to 8 figures and sold it and been buying up agencies. Then he started the agency mastermind, Agency 360. That's actually, we met through Jason, of course. So check out those and many more through InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you run your podcast. And we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So, Travis, we kind of call ourselves the magic elves, kind of like what you are for law firms, except for we are for podcasts. We're the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the hosts and the company so they can create amazing content, amazing relationships, and run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, you can go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Travis Hoechlin. He's founding partner and CEO of RizeUp Media. They've been in business since 2015. They made the Inc. 5000 list for the fastest growing companies in America 2 years in a row. He has over 15 years experience marketing for lawyers and law firms. They currently work with more than 400 law firms across the country, which is incredible. And Travis is here. I have a lot of questions. He's some great stories and an amazing journey. So Travis, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Let's start off with just Rise. There's a video piece to this, so I'm going to share my screen, but just talk about RizeUp Media and what you do.
Yeah, so we're a full service internet marketing company for law firms. We specialize in law firms, solo practitioners, up to about 10 attorneys. I mean, we have quite a few that are bigger than that, but probably 85% of the clients that we work with are 1 or 2 man shops. Or firms, excuse me. And we do everything. I tell people we do 5 things and do 5 things well. We build custom websites. Once those websites go live, we do SEO work, so they show up on the first page of Google. We manage social media. We manage pay-per-click campaigns. And the 5th thing we do is we manage local service ad campaigns. And we like to say that we give the law firms the white glove personal attention and the white glove treatment that they're looking for, so they can concentrate on what they do best, which is practicing law. And we're as you said, the magic elves behind the scenes.
Talk about niche for a second. Okay. Um, because I've seen in the law firm space, first of all, why law firms, and we'll get into that. But it's interesting because you chose not only law firm, but you have a couple different types of law firms that you serve, but you also serve a certain size of law firms as well. But start off with law firms. Why law firms? Because I know you
Well,
came from the mortgage business.
yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, that was many, many moons ago. But for the last 15 years, one of my partners now, and we, like you said, came from the mortgage world. Um, 2007, when that world all turned upside down, we decided to launch a company. Thought we'd be more nimble and make that work, and we did that for a couple years, and then it was just time to do something different. And so, a friend, an old mentor of mine, was working in the lawyer marketing space, and he got me a job at a big box store marketing company for lawyers, and I worked there for 8.5 years. And I guess, like most entrepreneurs, just thought we could make the widget a bit better and give our customers a bit better service. And actually, 5 years, a little over 5 years ago, officially, I should say, I made the jump and opened up hung our own shingle. And here we are 5 years later. We're working with more than 400 firms and growing like a weed. We made the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row, and we feel like we barely scratched the surface and just getting started.
What did you learn that you were going to carry into RizeUp? And I'm also wondering, what did you learn from the other company that you realized, I'm not going to carry that into RizeUp?
I think no question the biggest thing is helping attorneys understand what they're paying for, and being completely transparent of what expectations they should have, what they're receiving on a monthly basis, and goal set with them on where you're going. I mean, most agencies, a lot of agencies, I should say most, a lot of agencies out there just sell a product and try to fit all the different attorneys into a certain box. And we just didn't feel like that's not how you and I run our businesses. So why would we help somebody else run their business that way? And so we wanted to come up with a custom strategy and help, and most importantly, help them realize what they're getting for that, right? What is their return on investment? Probably 9 out of 10, and I'm being nice. Law firms out there know what their ROI is, or return on investment is, on the marketing, and they have no idea what that should even be. So why even ask those questions? So we wanted to make sure we're able to help them build and scale their business if that's what they're needing.
So it was a transparency thing, it was an expectation thing, it was a goal setting thing, and really focus on ROI thing.
Yeah, we wanted to be an outsource kind of arm of their firm, right? And that they most attorneys are just looking for somebody that they can trust, right? Hand over a few bucks, make my phone ring, get me clients in the door, and let me check in every now and again and know that you're doing what you say you're going to do, and that we're probably, at the risk of boring them to death, completely transparent of what they're doing, showing them and letting them listen to all the phone calls that they're getting, email forms, and helping connect the dots. Like, okay, you spent $5,000 this month and you made 25, and that we like to say, as long as you're picking up quarters for nickels, you're probably in the right spot.
Why more? Again, I know the clients have a range, but you have a bunch of solo practitioners. I'm wondering why solo practitioners as opposed to maybe ones that are really large law firms.
Well, in our space, an agency, that's typically that's who needs the help, right? Some humongous national firms or international firms, they don't really market. They do PR, they do whatever they're doing. They're not trying to do SEO. They're not trying to do different things. They have, 500 lawyers, 1,000 lawyers at their firm that are supposed to bring in business, and that's why they get paid the big bucks. Most solo practitioners, what we found, up to about 5 or 10 attorneys, are in that sweet spot of they need our help, right? They don't have the the ambition or want the headache of hiring a whole internal marketing team, right? It probably doesn't make sense financially for them. So they would then reach out to someone like us. And that's where we found where our sweet spot is. That's who needs it. That's who we can help best.
What was the first major milestone in starting the company after you went out on your own?
I think getting the first $1 million, right? In our world, that seems to be like before, I listen to as many podcasts as anybody else and listen to different things. And there's always like this $1 million mark that seemed to be this big, hill you had to get over. And we hit that pretty darn early. And realized it wasn't that big of a deal, right? And we just kind of ever since that point went, okay, if we can, I heard Kobe Bryant saying, like, just focus on the step ahead of you. And if you can do it once, you can do it twice. If you can do it twice, you can do it 4 times or whatever. And so that's kind of just the mentality we took, right, wrong, or indifferent. Where we're like, okay, we did $1 million. That wasn't earth shattering. Can we do the second $1 million quicker and faster? And obviously making sure the clients are happy and all that good stuff, and we're doing good work. And that's what priority number one, and that's what kind of we did. So when we hit that first $1 million, which, from everybody else's, from the outside, seemed like a big deal, and realizing it wasn't that big a deal, I think that's where we went, oh my gosh, we can do something special here.
What made you decide after over 8 years to start your own? Because I could see you at that point be like, listen, I have a good thing here, or maybe not. You just keep doing that.
You know what it was? A couple of different things. There's two main reasons. Number one is it was a Fortune 5. I worked at a Fortune 500 company had hundreds of salespeople, and I was the number one guy for 6 years in a row. And I kind of looked in the mirror and I go, I've pretty much redlined this. I've pedal to the metal here, and I don't think I can't grow any better. I can't grow my income 50%, no matter how hard I work or whatever. So that was number one. And not that it was great timing, but I just had my second kid, and my wife. I asked my wife, I'm like, man, I'd been talking about it for years, and finally she kind of challenged me and said, are you going to keep flapping your gums about this, or are you going to do it? And I went, okay. And that was,
she challenged your manhood is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, yes. And then like most stories, I had a manager that just didn't respect me. Story for a different day, but it was the last 1% that pushed me over the edge. And I went out on paternity leave, and I said, I'm not coming back. And I never did. And I wish I would have done it 5 years earlier.
What were you doing? Your number one salesperson for 6 years. That's pretty incredible. What was it about your process as a salesperson that worked?
Ambitious, hustle. I've never been, listen, I played baseball all growing up, all the way through college, and signed a professional contract, play independent ball. And I've never once taken the field and been the most talented ball player, salesperson, what have you. But I always took pride in outworking everybody. I figure I probably have to work twice as hard as everybody else to put out the same result. And what you tend to find out is there's very few people that are willing to give that much effort. And so it's always kind of worked out for me. And it was no different once I got into sales and business. It kind of was, all the lessons you learn in baseball and failure and competing and teamwork and all that kind of stuff, especially competition. I'm the most competitive person you'll ever meet. Like, I just cannot handle not winning. And sales was perfect for me. Sales, like, okay, who's the competitors? Who am I competing against? And what are they doing? I'm going to go figure out. I'm going to go pick all their brains, figure it out, and then I'm going to add that knowledge with my work ethic, and I like my chances. And so that's what I did there, and it worked out. And it's bring the same mentality over here, and I'd like to think we're going to get similar results.
What did that look like on a daily basis? Like, just maybe get a little granular with me. You'd go in, I mean, I don't know, other people were coming at 8, you were coming at 5. What did that ambition hustle look like on a daily
Yeah.
basis?
Yeah. So I figured everyone at best is doing the 9 to 5 gig, right? And so and this is pre-kids, so it made it easier. When I'd come back at 5, 6, 7, whatever, have dinner with the wife and maybe watch a little TV, and then there was always that night shift, from 10 to midnight or 1, 2 in the morning. And I figured I'm turning over more rocks than everybody else at that time. And, kind of like
Were you just sending emails? Were you through
emails.
social?
So,
How were you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was at the other place, we had a small territory. I'm in Orange County, California, and my territory was probably 20 minutes end to end from driving. Southern California, it could be an hour and a half depending on traffic time, but essentially with no traffic, 20 minutes. So I just mapped out every law firm in that territory, and I made it they said there was 1,200 law firms in my territory or whatever they said it was. And I just kind of did the math. I go, well, if I go knock on 100 doors a month, I'll get there. I think there was actually 2,400. So I was like, okay, if I go knock on 2,400 doors, if I knock on 100 a month or 200 a month, in the next year or two, I'll have met everybody. And then, so that was number one. No, most people won't do that. Go physically knock on a door, go park your car, walk up.
What did you say when you went up there?
Just myself. Say, hey, listen, are you looking for more? Are you looking for more business? Who says no to that, right? And if they do, they want you out of there, so might as well leave, right? And so it's usually, are you guys looking for additional clients? And if the answer was yes, I go, oh, then it's a good thing I walked in here. Can I get 20 minutes of your time? I need to know what you want, where you want it from, and how much of it you want. And I have more answers than questions at this point. And if you're willing to give me 20 minutes, I'll go back to my team, and I'll come back a few days from now, and I'll show you how to accomplish that. If it's the right fit for you, great. If not, you'll hopefully remember me when the time is it is good and you're ready to go. And just that, I mean, most fun, because in our industry, everyone's lobbing emails and making phone calls and doing all that thing. And, I'd rather go knock on 10 doors and make 100 phone calls. I'm going to get a lot further with that, just because I'm 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", and less likely that some secretary is going to tell me to buzz off in person than over the phone. And so
it's also more personal. I mean, you see someone face to face.
Absolutely. And like I said, our target market's at 1 to 5, 1 to 10 attorneys, most of them being solo. When I walk in the door, they're probably sitting right there, and so at least you can get a clear no instead of let me take a message, type of thing that gets you nowhere.
Travis, a 20-minute area doesn't seem big to me. When you started becoming number one salesperson at this company, did they expand your geographic area? No, they didn't. You had the same area?
That's not how corporate America works, right? It's smaller territory, twice the quota, all that good stuff. So it's just
but you still did it year after year, even with that same.
Yeah, because if you're and this is where I've always hung my hat in sales. If you do the right thing for folks, you're going to get referrals. They're going to buy more stuff, no matter, and if it isn't working, shoot them straight. Like, we're in marketing. Not every newsflash, everything doesn't work all the time. You know what I mean? But if you're straight up with folks and tell them the truth, and they know you at least gave it everything you got, like, they're at least going to respect you. And so I heard one of my mentors told me when I first started that job, and it was really good advice. They said, listen, your territory is either a asset or a liability, and sell accordingly, right? And if you kind of poop where you sleep, you're going to have a quick tenure here, And so I just made sure I did the right thing by people all the time, as much as I could, and every time. And I was able to stay there for quite some time, and I could have been there, continued to be there, if it wasn't for bigger ambitions on my part.
Do you have any favorite resources, like books, podcasts, from like a sales perspective that you've that you consider important throughout the years?
Man, $100 million leads, and that's
Alex Ramosi.
yeah, that one's really good. Um, the oldie but goodie is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That one,
One of my favorites. I love that one.
somebody
Yeah. Dale
someone told
Carnegie.
me someone told me a long time ago, read that once a year, and I think that's a solid piece of advice. But there's a ton of and podcasts. There's a ton of them out there. Names of escaping me. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
those
If you
those
think
are
of
the ones.
them, you shout them out because
Yeah.
I am, and I'm sure people are interested in the resources that you love. Talk about building a sales team. So you go from being top salesperson
Yep.
to now building a sales team, and what's worked and what hasn't worked.
Yeah, so we've been fortunate that once again, I think, doing the right thing, treating people with respect, um, performing at a high level, and always being willing to answer the phone and help people, like and pulling people up instead of pushing them down, even when they're your competitors, has worked out very, very well for us. And so we've been lucky enough to not really have to go hunt for new sales folks. Many folks in this industry and where we used to work have come to us. And in fact, we've been able to just kind of cherry pick who we want to work with. And we know kind of the track record that they, only. I heard somebody on a podcast say that your first 100 hires are, and we're not there yet. We have like 47 team members, but your first 100 hires are super, super important, and to make sure you're hiring great people. And basically, no matter what the cost is, to some degree, if a talent comes knocking on our doorstep, we're going to find a way to get them as part of the team. There's no question. And so the sales team part of it, we're looking for people of high motors, super competitive, lucky enough to be able to cherry pick people who are already in this industry and have relationships. And they're able to come over here and supersize that with the amount of leads and things that they didn't get other places. That they've seen humongous success. And now that's kind of the method to our madness so far.
What about from a division of labor? You have a few partners. How do you decide who's going to work on what part of the business?
Well, in the beginning, it kind of looked like I have two daughters that are 5 and 7. I just turned 8. If you ever seen a 5-year-olds play soccer, they call it the
Yes.
beehive, right? The ball goes there, and
They all bunch
players,
together.
and that was much what our division of labor looked like early on. But then as time went on, we learned a bit more. We've kind of found our groove. I'm in charge of sales. Other business partner George is kind of the brains behind the operation as far as SEO and things of that nature. And my other partner who you've met, Bo Bryant, he's great at sales as well, but he's also more organized than I. So he takes care of all the payroll and operations and all that kind of thing. So it's been a work in progress, certainly, and we have more work to do, but that's kind of how it's worked out, and we complement each other, in my opinion, very, very well.
Talk about navigating partnerships. I've heard a lot of people have had problems and shy away from them. What have you found has worked with your partners?
So I've gotten kind of lucky in that respect. Bo and I have had the same job since we were 23. Our first jobs were selling cell phones. Then we went and sold mortgage in a number of different places. Then we sold, what else did we sell? Mortgage a few different places. And then we sold lawyer marketing. And then we owned a mortgage company and then so we've had the same, our resumes look identical. If we were ever, God forbid, have to go get another job and we both send them in, they'd be like, you copied off of his test or vice versa, right? My other partner was, before we all got married, 15 years ago, he was my roommate. And
In college.
After college.
After college.
Actually, just mutual friend when you're single and whatever. There was 3 of us that were roommates, and then he and I became roommates again. And it was always interesting. Like he was one of the head marketing folks at a humongous, one of the top 2 biggest mortgage companies in the world. And so it was kind of a match made in heaven. We did, many late nights over beers talking about that one day we were going to create this. And it kind of just worked out. So I got lucky in that sense. I didn't have to go in other businesses. I've had not so great of partners, but this one it was kind of I'm working with friends. I know they say not to do that, but it's worked out so far.
It's worked for you. What position were you in baseball?
I played first and third.
Okay.
First and third base.
I was going to guess first. What about from a sales training perspective? It seems like the people you bring on are also seasoned. So is there what's the onboarding like for you? It seems like maybe they're already experienced, or do you have a specialized onboarding or training that you like to take people through?
Yeah, once again, for us, it was a bit unique and advantageous that they were seasoned and they already. I don't think there's a salesperson on my team that has less than 15 years experience selling to lawyers. So they know the landscape. What they didn't know is the more advanced product and services that we have than where they came from, right? And so it's just about getting them up to speed with that, and not we have all kinds of tools that they never had before, and there's all kinds of technical stuff that they never knew and didn't know was out there, and that we incorporate, which is why our clients do so well. But for us, I mean, the key, we have an amazing product. There's no question about it, but equally as amazing as our sales team. And I think that's why we've been, no question, not I think, there's no question, that's why we've grown so quickly. And so it's just kind of coaching them up, and listen, they all are equally as good as I am. I'm not saying I'm better by any stretch, but I do have a skill set there where, with this particular product, how to not geek out on them, on the lawyers or the clients, right? And to talk in layman's terms and make sure they understand it. And I always give them the analogy of like, listen, I don't know anything about cars, right? And when I take my car in to get oil change, of course, every time they come out with some type of belt or something that's broken, the flux capacitor is not working, or the blinker fluid's out, or whatever, and they can just see it, and they come out and they go, this is dirty, or this should look like this, and I just, is my car going to blow up on the way home? You know what I mean? Like, I just want out of there so fast. And if they would just talk in layman's terms and shoot me straight, I'd probably buy what they're selling. But it's just, so I use that as an example of when we're selling to attorneys, like, they don't know that they're super, super smart individuals in their industry. In our industry, more times than not, they don't know this stuff. And they're in a confused mind says, let me think about it. Right. And so how do we communicate with them that shows them that we know what the heck we're talking about, and we're here to help them and speak to them in their terms to make them feel comfortable. And so that bit from a training process is what the message I try to get over to my team. And they're all amazing. So with all due respect, I offer tidbits, but I go, listen, you've got to your place in this world at a high level. So if I can make little tweaks, fantastic. If you go with what you do, that's great too.
Travis, the evolution of your services, when you first started, I know, because you come from a Fortune 500, they have big teams, they can do everything, right? Yep. How did you start? What did you first start selling from a services perspective?
It was websites, and there wasn't local service ads at the time, but it was websites, SEO, and PPC and social media.
So it was all from the get-go.
It was because that's what we essentially sold where we came from. So a lot of the clients we worked with at the past place, I didn't know if we left thinking, well, maybe a few of them will come with us. You never know if they're married to the brand or they like you or whatever. And I wasn't um, ignorant enough to think that everybody was there because of me. They were with a big company, but it turned out that wasn't the case. That they came with me because they trusted me. They had no idea who was behind the scenes at some big old company. And once we could show them that you're going to get a lot better service and a lot more attention, it was really a flood of people that came our way. So that was.
But
Awesome.
did you have to staff up really quickly then right away?
When we first started, very like, how do we get a website made and off the ground, right? Because my business partner George didn't come over till a year later. We partnered up with some outsourcing that we could basically lead everybody to. I mean, they were white label type of situation, and we were able to then go sell. And then as we grew, we wanted to make sure the product was better and better and better. And so at this point, everything's in-house. And so we never took any loans. We never took out any debt. We just grew. We bootstrapped it and, put more of the money back into the business than we did our pockets as we grew, and able to make sure we had great talent and provided a great process. And so that's kind of how we grew. And it was, I would do it that exact way if I did it again, because we didn't have to do any of that hiring a bunch of people right out of the gate when we couldn't afford to do so. And we found folks that were very, very talented. That there's a bunch of people in our industry that are very, very good at making the widget, but can't sell. And at that particular time, we were very good at selling and couldn't make the widget. So it's kind of a match made in heaven. I always knew that I can go find our own people to make the widget at some point. And we were very upfront with what our goals were, what we were going to do. And so there was no hard feelings or what have you. And then we were able to grow enough to bring George over, get him out of his day job. And then it was just like pouring rocket fuel on this thing. And it's been awesome ever since.
I want to hear about mistakes. Because I know you serve law firms, right? But these same mistakes transcend across any business. And I know I've heard you talk about fundamentals and really making sure the fundamentals are there. One of those things when you're talking to companies, because you could drive all the traffic, leads, and everything to them, but it was surprising. I think you said something like out of 100 calls, maybe 30 go unanswered, right?
Yeah.
And then people are wondering why they're not getting business.
Yeah.
So talk about some of those biggest mistakes and maybe start with just as simple as picking up the phone.
Yeah. So when you're working with a small business, right, solo practitioners a lot of times are to use a restaurant analogy, they're the host, they're the waiter, they're the manager, they're the cook, they're the bartender, they're the whole thing. and lawyers, depending on the type of law, they're in court a lot, right? So if you're in court, you're not telling the judge, hey, hold on, my phone's ringing, type of thing. And so we realized really quickly, even though it's not in our job description and it's above our pay grade to get involved in this, that we have to coach them up and have strategic partners that help them with answering the phone, answering services, chat, text, all those types of things. Because you're right. I would say this is not a vetted number, but we work with over 400 firms, and I don't know how many phone calls, tens of thousands of phone calls are coming in to our clients every single month. Probably the average firm answers the phone about 65% of the time. And so no matter what I tell the firms in the beginning, and this is part of our onboarding process, that we won't work with them if they're not willing to improve that, right? And we don't know going into it, but I'll ask them, and we're kind of a lean in type of agency. And I said, listen, we will secret shop your office. We record all the phone calls. And until you tell us otherwise, if you're god awful at answering the phone, we're going to tell you, because let me tell you, everything we do is month to month. So we have to earn our paycheck every month. And if you're not answering the phone, our marketing, I don't care how good my marketing is, you're going to be not happy and you're going to quit. And then now my reputation's on the line, and you're going to be unhappy. So let's fix that and be willing to be coachable here. I tell folks all the time, if something's not working, the easiest solution, the solution I hope it is that we did something wrong, because I can fix that quickly, right? When it's on their side, the baton is passed, and they need to be able to be willing to do that. So we get involved, and we set them up with answering service. I tell them, listen, most firms, this is a few $100 fix, right? An answering service, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, depending on the volume of calls. Like just for someone to take a message and then have them text you the transcript, and you make the decision whether that's hey, I need to jump on the phone right now and call that client back, or it's hey, I can call them back tomorrow type of thing. Because attorneys don't realize people aren't waiting around. Most attorneys think their reputation is bigger than it is. And I tell people, if I'm marketing for you and they went online, they don't know any attorneys, or at least they exhausted the ones they do know. So now they're talking to strangers. And we're in a fast food society, right? And if you're not answering the phone, they're hanging up and calling the next one on the list. So we are pretty bold in that kind of thing, because it's what's best for them. And no one, not once in my 15 years of doing this has an attorney walked in and said, you know what, I'm terrible at intake. There's never any self-awareness of this. So it's usually a very eye-opening, experience, or palm to forehead type of event when they listen to when I play them a few phone calls and they go, this is how my secretary is answering the phone. Yeah, what do you want? Like, what? I'm like, what are we doing here? But yeah, so yeah, that's the biggest one for sure.
Some of your favorite tools and software, I've heard you mention things like CallRail. I don't know if you have your favorites.
I'll go CallRail. just because I can't tell you how many accounts that saved or helped just by being on a Zoom call, and they go, it's not working. Oh, well, we brought you. Okay. It says here you got 63 phone calls. You didn't sign up anybody. What are the chances that we went 0 for 63? Let's go ahead and listen to a few of these. And we go, oh, wow. I didn't know that came from you guys. Yeah, that was the case. That was worth 10 grand. Okay. Well, you're spending 4. So, okay, we're already in a positive ROI numbers here. Let's listen to the next one. That type of thing. So that is why you wouldn't invest in that as an agency is beyond me. Where I was before, they didn't invest in these kind of things. I'm like, what? Now knowing, I'm like, how many account? If you're not tracking everything, how do you go by? If you're not tracking your phone calls and know what you are getting or not getting, then you're just going off a gut feel. I don't feel like it's working. What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, the amount of times I've heard that in my career is amazing. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, or that I do, or even maybe sometimes even worse. Yeah, I feel like it's working. Like, that's not help. You know what I mean? Where do we go from here? Like, hopefully you don't have a bad day tomorrow.
What are your thoughts on live chat? We'll talk about law firms and then talk about agencies too, but start with law firms. Because like, if they're not answering the phone,
yep,
then now they have to have someone answer live chat, right? So what are your thoughts?
There are some really good ones out there. So I'm a huge fan, and I'll tell you why. Let's talk about law firms. What I tell lawyers is this: nobody wants to call you, right? No one thinks, man, next month I hope I have to call a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? Like what? Like they know this, right? They don't. And then I tell them that most folks don't know how you charge. Right? They think it's like a taxi cab that you say hello and the meter starts running, and most of them are probably not. Your clients aren't as educated as you, and that's really, really intimidating. right? So all those four things, people don't want to pick up the phone, right? So let them have another door into your office, right? And so having chat, and I would tell you, especially the younger generation. Listen, I have a younger brother who works for me, and he's 13 years younger than I, and I give him hell about this all the time. Many a times I will call him because I need something, or hey, we're gonna have a beer, or I need something for work, or whatever it may be, and he doesn't answer the phone. And I hang up and immediately text him, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes." I'm like, "What? Eh, okay." So my point of that is like there's a younger generation that much rather text or chat or something of that nature, DM, than pick up the phone and call. So if we know that, I don't know the stats off the top, I knew those at one point, but if we know that's a big portion of society right now, and that younger generation is not so young anymore, right? And those are going to be your clientele. Why would you not have that big old door on your office and let them in that way if that's how they want to get there? And so so it's not a question of if you should have it. Then the next one is, if you're manning it, it's going to be no different than your phone. So there are services you either hire internally, or there's great services out there. Juvo is a really good one, by the way. Ted over there, amazing dude, a friend who we recommend people to contact, but it's all, US based, real time, that kind of thing. And, there's stats out there, increases the number of clients you sign up from your marketing, like somewhere upwards of 30%. I've heard bigger numbers than that, but let's say it's 30%. That's a big stinking number. So absolutely, absolutely, you better have that on there, some type of chat.
What are some of the ones you've heard are good that people could test out from like a live chat perspective?
Yeah, Juvo's the one, the kind of the go-to. They charge by lead. They'll give you a free 30. I'm totally plugging him right now, but Engage is another one. I'm trying to think. Those are the ones that have live people answering, and then there's a gazillion of them that they're AI bots and things of that nature. And I'm like, this is not a big expenditure we're talking about. Like, there's places to save money, and then there, especially in the legal field, like, I'm sure AI will get there. And then maybe there's, as we're sitting here in September 11th, 2024, I'm sure this is not going to age well, but, I wouldn't put AI in charge of my intake at this point, at this speed. Maybe that's different next week, but it's not that, it's hardly that expensive. And especially for our clients, that cases are worth 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000, seven figures. Like, come on. You got to get one case a year to justify that. So why would you not do that?
Travis, a little bit more on, so people can understand what you do. You have a criminal defense lawyer in New York, and talk about that.
Yeah. So we handle, we all practice areas, personal injury, criminal, family, estate planning, immigration, employment, you name it. We do it. Have done it. We'll do it again. So that part, we'll handle any type of practice area. And really, it really comes down to what I tell folks all the time is like, listen, we have three types of, it really is finding out a custom program for you, for that firm, because not everybody has the same need. There's the firm we were talking about that wants to dominate New York and the 5 boroughs that we bring 40,000 visitors to, and hundreds of phone calls and all that kind of stuff. And he has the budget to do that. Right. And we certainly can, you have the biggest budget in the world. We can put that to good use, and you'll get a positive return. And you want to tackle multiple states or things of that nature. We have those types of clients. Right. And then we have, on the other hand, like, working with a lot of solo practitioners, they typically have a limited budget, and they typically come to me with some type of story like, hey, I got X amount of dollars. They call it, like, there's a DUI firm in LA that came to us and goes, listen, I got like $3,500 a month to spend. How would you spend it? My website's kind of garbage. I need to spruce that up a bit. And And it was important for me to understand where he was because, as we all know, SEO takes some time. So if I were to take that whole $3,500, especially where he was starting, he wouldn't show up in the North Pole for anything, right? Like, so he's in a competitive market. So the strategy that we used was, okay, let's use $1,000 of your money to spruce up the website. It's not gonna change your world by any stretch, but we're gonna lay a foundation as far as content and backlinks and so forth. But where we're gonna move the needle is we're gonna use local service ads. So we took the other $2,500 and put it into local service ads. And at the time, it was like $150 a call, I think it was, memory serves. Anyway, he spent he got about 17 phone calls and ended up signing up 7 of those. And his average DUI, he charges $3,500 for a DUI client. So off of that $3,500 spend on month 1, he was able to make $24,500. Now, if I wouldn't have strategized that way, because a couple things I knew, I was going to lose his patience and he was going to run out of money potentially if I put it all into SEO, because it was going to take me about a year, even with that kind of budget, even bigger budget, to really get the needle to move and get the phone ringing. So I knew local service ads, he would get calls right away and bring cash flow into the business is what he needed, right? And then we can grow it from there. And since then, we've grown it quite substantially, as not only from a result standpoint, budget standpoint, and all that kind of thing. But that is what was best, because we took the time to listen to what his needs were, understood his business and how he gets paid, and put him into a strategy where he was going to see success. And I literally just he doubled his budget last month. He goes, I just had the best month of my career. I appreciate you. And those are the best, obviously the best texts in the world to get from clients. And so it's really getting down, rolling up your sleeves and understanding, not trying to just fit them into a box, but understanding what they need and how best to get them there.
Yeah, if I were him, I would 10 times my budget, spending $2,500 and doing close to $25,000.
Yeah.
Why double it? No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Travis, first of all, I want to be the first one to thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey, your lessons. I love hearing it. I want everyone to check out RizeUpMedia.com. That's RIZE upmedia.com, and more episodes of the podcast. And Travis, thanks so much.
Appreciate you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like $100 grand.